The first question, let me read out the question first. Venerable, last night I attended a medical lecture by a neurologist at a trade convention center. He said research has found that meditation is delaying many illnesses such as strokes, heart attack, and dementia. So this is not a question, just telling me that he listened to some lectures, medical lectures, Trade Convention Center last time, and he found that meditation has been quite useful in delaying sicknesses. Yeah, it's true. Many sicknesses come out because of mental sickness. We, as an individual, will make up of two constituents, two major categories. We are made up of what? Me, as an individual, we're made up of the body and the mind. The body and the mind. The body is what I am now. I have outer senses, I have eyes, ear, nose, and I also have internal organs. I have the liver, the lung, all these different organs. So that's my body. I have a body. But this body is nothing but a combination of molecules, body cells. It's just a body cell with metabolism inside, working in a cycle, working in some system to keep this body going. But the body has a spirit to function it, and that we call the mind. You cannot function with just a body. The car cannot go without a driver. You need a driver sitting in it to drive the car. So is the body and mind. If the driver of the car, say, is not mentally healthy, he is not driving properly. He forgot his handbrake to release his handbrake and he was driving. He forgot to put oil in it. He's driving the car, but he doesn't care about the maintenance of the car. The mind has to nurture the body too. It just as the car driver has to maintain the car. If you're just driving the car without maintaining it, the car is going to collapse. The car is going to be in no time. If you're a good driver, you maintain it, you can drive the car for 30, 40 years. If you're a sloppy driver who don't really care, the car is going to be good for maybe 5 years, 6 years. So the mind actually controls the well-being of the body. It controls it. It monitors it. It gives gears to it. It gives spirit to it. It gives actions and vigor to it. If your mind is always healthy, if your mind is always overwhelmed with depression, overwhelmed with greediness, hatred, jealousy, disappointment, fear, anxiety, if your mind is always filled up with those kind of mental afflictions, your body is not going to be functioning properly, because your mind directly affects your bodily health. The researcher talking about yesterday has nothing but just mentioning a common sense. I wouldn't say delaying. He's assuming that there will be illnesses. There will be strokes and heart attack and all kinds of illnesses. It's sort of leading you to a healthy life. Meditation leads you to a healthy life, both spiritually and physically. But how many people listen to it? How many people would say, oh yeah, that's right, or he's right, the mind controls the body, then I got to watch my mind. I got to protect my mind. Just as, yeah, if I drive my car, right now I have a Ferrari. If I really protect it, I'm going to drive it for many, many years. If I don't care about it, it's not going to work. So you know that you really have to get into your mind. But how many people would do that? How many people would say, I need to go to that temple to learn meditation? Only you today. Only you today have taken that first step. But a lot of people would only take that first step and they would not come back again. Or they would not do it again. Because it doesn't affect them. Because they got other things to do. They get overwhelmed by many other things. They get addicted to many, many things. If everybody cares about one's mind, this society will be a much better place to live in. Will be much peaceful. But nobody really cares. Do you care? No? You don't care? Yeah, of course you don't care. You don't care about it. You will care. Because your parents brought you here. Oh, the other day, just about a few months ago, I saw a young lady, about maybe 32, 34 young lady, bringing her daughter, probably her daughter, about the same age, about 5, 6 years old. And the lady said, oh, go and prostrate to the Buddha. And then the little girl went to the kneeling stool, and then she stopped. She didn't do it. And the mom said, oh, come on, just prostrate. And the mom was standing there, prostrate, kneeling. And then the little girl said, Mom, why didn't you do it with me? Because in the lady's mind, just want the kid to learn about the Chinese tradition of laying down and prostrating. She herself is not practicing it. She just tells the younger generation to practice it. And that reminds me of one thing. Parents don't set themselves as an example. If you want your child to be good, you got to do it. If you want a child to be hardworking, you have to be hardworking. If you want a child to be culturally or whatnot, spiritually effective, you have to do it yourself. Set an example. Don't be a hypocrite. You tell your child to do one thing, and you don't want to do it because you're not humbleizing yourself. You don't want to kneel down. You want your child to kneel down. That's not the way to go. Why don't I change my subject? So it's because of the child saying no that I change my subject. Yeah. All right. No. This question is already addressed. Next question. Ideas and values exist in duality. Without the other, we can't identify them. You said earlier we should train our mind to only think of good thoughts. But how do we value the good thoughts without acknowledging the bad? It's a good question. Every question is a good question. What he's just saying is, ideas and value exist in duality. Duality, you know what that means? For those who may not understand duality, ideas and value exist in such a way that this is good, this is no good. This is ugly, this is beautiful. This is love, this is hatred, this is fat, this is thin, this is slim, this is healthy, this is unhealthy. You're always living in a dualistic values. This is bad, this is good. So what the question says is, if you always maintain that good thought, then you have nothing to compare. How do you know bad thought? You only know good when there's bad, and you only know bad when there's good, right? My response is, you cultivate your good thought, you live in duality, which there's no denying about it. You have been brought up in such a way that this is a good guy, this is a bad guy, this hurts me, this doesn't hurt me. He talked to me politely and I like him, he talked to me rudely and I dislike him. You already have lived in a dualistic society. If somebody tell you, okay, yeah, right, but it's not good to injure your playmate. Don't hit John. Peter, you don't hit John. Hitting John and John cries is not good. Peter already knows the dualistic way. He knows that those being hit would cry, and those hit others are in a furious state. We already have known the dualistic. And somebody tell you, no, this is good. Don't hurt others. Don't kill. Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't curse. Nobody have to. You already lived in it. If you're not in a dualistic society, you wouldn't have come to this world. You will have lived in a world that's perfect, or more perfect than this one, or heaven, or whatever you call it. So don't worry about you don't have bad thoughts to compare to. You are already in it. You already know good and bad. Mind you, good and bad, the delineation sometimes is difficult to draw. You really have to have intelligence to really differentiate sometimes in situations what is good and what is bad. But approximately, roughly, you know. Hitting other people's nose and get bleeding all the time, you know it's bad. Comforting that person, healing him, putting a bandage, you know that's good. But sometimes the demarcation between good and bad is difficult to delineate. That you have to use judgment, that you have to use wisdom. For example, one country occupies another country. To that country, this country says, we're living on an island. All our citizens, all our millions of citizens are subject to earthquake, tsunami. We want to look for places where we are safe. I want to go inland into this country, and for the safety of my people, I want to occupy that piece of land. I want to drive these people out, occupy it, and live peaceful in it. What is the demarcation of good and bad? To his own citizens, it's good. To the others, it's bad. So sometimes it's difficult to delineate, but if you have intelligence, if you have prajna, that's the reason why we have to live with, first of all, with temporal diligence. And then we have to build up our diligence to a level that we not only have temporal diligence, we have wisdom. We call prajna. Remember what we said about prajna? Prajna is above temporal, worldly intelligence. What is good and bad? A scientist created the atomic bomb. He created it because he wanted to further into the research of collision of molecules and the power from the collision and fusion of molecules. He just researched into that project so that science can develop. And he could use this power maybe to explode rocks, to destroy impediments to reclamation of land, something like that. However, he tried to create the atomic bomb, and then that country used that atomic bomb to bomb another country. What is good and what is bad? It depends on circumstances, it depends on time, it depends on location, it depends on your intention, it depends on many things. That you require wisdom, and that requires prajna. That's the reason why I always believe in it's good for a person, for a teenager to study Buddhism. Not waiting till you're old. Oh, I'm retired, I'm 65 years old. Now I don't have nothing else to do. Now is the time for me to learn something about Buddhism. Too late. If you learn Buddhism at a young age, you will be tremendously benefited by it. Do you understand what I mean? Some people will think that way. A lot of Chinese people always think like that way. Well, nothing else to do. Now I'm old, and then maybe I should chant the sutra, and I'm old. It's good to start when you are young. Let me give you another example. If I'm a youngster in life, I'm 18, 16, 17, and I'm in high school, I'm in grade 10, grade 12, and I'm going to university. And then one day I came into this temple and I listened to this Reverend Guan Cheng, and he gave a lecture on what? On causation. He's talking about causation, and he said, if there's a cause and there's an effect. If you want something to be successful, you have to germinate. You put in your cause, then you will be successful, because no effect will come out without a cause. If you want to get an A in the examination, you really have to build up all the conditions and causes to get an A. You can't get an A without conditions and causes. Who built these conditions and causes for you? What are the causes and conditions for getting an A in the examination? What are the causes and conditions for being a successful worker in your company? What's the cause and conditions for being successful in whatever business you're doing? You can't say, I want to get an A in examination. I didn't even buy the textbook. I didn't even go to attend lectures. I only write the exam. When the examination comes up, I just go and write for it. You think you'll pass? How to pass the examination without studying. I am still waiting for that book to be written so that I can read it. How to pass an examination without studying. I still am waiting. Next question. How do we avoid attachment to emptiness? But my question to you, of course you have to understand what emptiness is all about. You're talking about emptiness is a way of contemplation to free your attachment, to let go of your attachment. There's a method to let go of your attachments, to let go of your cravings, your desires, your greediness, your hatred, your jealousy, your fear, your anxiety. Emptiness is a way, this method, sunyata in the Sanskrit language, to get rid of all those mental afflictions arising from attachment and craving. That's what we call emptiness. Now, your question is, how do you avoid attachment to emptiness? My question is, have you practiced enough? Have you already have practiced emptiness so that it's very effective for you already? You haven't even been successful in getting onto the ship to Victoria, and you're talking about, how do I get rid of that ship? You haven't got your ticket, you're not on board yet, you're still on this shoal of confusion, you're still waiting for that ship, you're still to step on that ship, and you're asking the Reverend, how do I get rid of that ship? How do I not attaching to that ship? I said, you're not even on it. When you get on it, then I'll tell you how to get rid of it. You worry too much. You haven't been successful in getting onto the ship, and you're talking about, once I get into that ship, the Reverend talk about abandoning that ship. How do I abandon it? You haven't studied on that ship about the 6 parameters. Stop worrying and start living. Do you read that book? Stop worrying and start living. Start your trip. Stop worrying about where the trip would take you to. I read that book when I was 21 years old, and I found it very, very useful. Stop worrying about it and start living. Positive thinkers, Dale Carnegie. Okay, stop worrying about emptiness and start to practice it first. Stop worrying about how do we abandon the ship when you are arriving in Victoria. Get onto the ship, buy your ticket, enjoy your cafeteria on the ship, enjoy the scenery. Don't worry about how to step that foot on shore. Don't worry about it. Last question. Are there any, or what are the Buddha's teaching on gays and lesbians? Good question. Gays and lesbians is a relationship between men and men, woman and woman. In any kind of relationship, there are 2 things involved in it. Mostly, if I can generalize it, it's a combination of love and sex. A relationship is nothing but a love and sex. And it could be a combination of both. And if you look from the point of view of love and sex, the way I look at it, it doesn't mean that everybody look at it that way, but I'm looking at it from a perspective of what I think the Buddhist teaching is talking about. When you look at a lesbian relationship or a gay relationship, any relationship is a combination of love and sex. Sex is a physical satisfaction of sensual pleasures. In other words, when you are attracted to someone, and if that attraction, because of your love for the beauty or for whatever, for the lust, for whatever, you're attracted by it, you react to it, and then that reaction comes back to you. It's not a response, it's a reaction. You have to know what the difference between a response and reaction. Reaction is react with emotions. A response is with rational consideration. So you react to that kind of stimulant from the outside. And that stimulation gets you to your senses, and it creates hormones in your body. When a man looks at a woman, when a woman looks at a man, when a teenager looks at a beautiful girl, he thinks so beautiful, what happened to his hormones? What happened to the changes of his organ? He gets stimulated. So hormones will reproduce, and eventually an excretion will finalize. Or it would push him to perform. Legally or illegally. With intention or without intention. With plan or without planning. Without planning and illegal, we call it a rape. With planning and with intentions, to plan on it. You know, boys plan on girls and girls plan on boys, and adults do the same thing. That is a physical satisfaction of sensual pleasures. That is temporary. That is an impulse. It could be without rationality. It could induce criminal offenses. On the other hand, in a relationship, there's also what we call love. And love has two things in it. One is conditional and one is unconditional. In other words, in a relationship, you may not be stimulated by the sex. You may just love that person. Men love a man and woman love a woman. If there is no sensual pleasures, pursuit of sensual pleasure and stimulation of hormone, a man loves that man simply because of what he does, because of his behavior, because of certain things, is purely on a platonic level. I don't see any problem in it. A lady loves another lady for her personality, for her contribution to the society, for her unconditional compassion. And they want to live together. What's wrong? Why couldn't they do it whereas a man and a woman can perform that? A man and a woman's love could be platonic, you know? You know what a platonic is all about? Could be platonic, like without sex involved in it. It also happens to gay and lesbian. However, now, I already have the positive side to lesbian and gays. Nothing against them. I mean, it's okay, it's acceptable. It's just a love. And if I can further talk into it, if you see deeper into a love without sex appeal in it, you see a lot of things. That love could be unfinished business from previous life, not just of this life business. In other words, this man to man, that's his brother in previous life. It's just a continuation of brotherly love. And that man to man, that man could be his mom, his granddad. His mom and his granddad came back as his gay partner. They love each other so much in previous life. They have unending love which carry forward to this life. What's the problem with it? It's like something that they want to cherish. However, if this kind of relationship, it's a bondage, but a bondage with detrimental effect in it, which means that they have unfinished bad business, which means that they could be a man-to-man relationship, but that man finally is going to kill that man. Or that man is going to finally to be doing something detrimental to him. It's not going to be good. Let's get back to our argument on sex appeal. This pursuit for sexual satisfaction is a root problem of many wrongdoings. It has its dire consequences on many crimes. So it itself, by its nature, is a wrongdoing. That's the reason why a monk has to be celibate, because that non-celibacy could lead to many other consequences. It also interrupts your samatha and vipassana. It interrupts your meditation. How can you meditate properly if you're always thinking about sex? Because you want to be neutral. You want to stay away from those. I would consider myself, answer this question, I'm not against it, I'm not for it. I don't have pros and I don't have cons. Just do what they want. Who cares? Yeah, okay, yeah.